August 7, 1942, 02:14 hours, Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands. The first American Marines of the 1st Division waded ashore at Beach Red, carrying weapons that would fundamentally challenge Japanese tactical doctrine. Among their standard-issue rifles, selected Marines carried Winchester Model 12 shotguns, pump-action weapons with a devastating close-range capability the Japanese military planners had never anticipated. Through the pre-dawn darkness, the Marines advanced inland, encountering the first Japanese defensive positions near the Lunga River. What unfolded in those initial engagements exposed a catastrophic miscalculation in Japanese military planning. The Imperial Army was prepared for long-distance rifle combat and close-range bayonet charges or sword work. They had not prepared for American shotguns capable of firing as fast as a soldier could work the pump action, a mechanical reality that would shatter Japanese tactical assumptions across the Pacific. The 2,200 Japanese defenders on Guadalcanal were about to discover a weapon so effective in close combat that Germany had tried to have it banned from warfare in 1918. The Winchester Model 12, with its ability to slam fire multiple shells in rapid succession, proved devastating in the jungle, cave fighting, and night combat of the Pacific. The combat mathematics were about to change. Each shell contained 9 pellets of double-aught buckshot. Using the slam fire technique, a Marine could fire 6 shells in under 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, 54 projectiles would saturate the target area, more than a Japanese soldier could fire in a minute with his bolt-action rifle. The Model 12 entered World War II with a reputation established in the trenches of France. During World War I, its earlier models were so effective that the German government filed a diplomatic protest on September 15, 1918, claiming shotguns violated the Hague Convention by causing unnecessary suffering. The protest specifically stated that any prisoner found with such guns would forfeit his life. Secretary of State Robert Lansing's response was unequivocal. The United States rejected the protest and warned of reprisals if any American prisoners were executed for carrying shotguns. No American soldiers were executed, and their use continued. The Model 12, introduced in 1912 as a civilian hunting weapon, was now the M12 trench gun. It featured a 20-inch barrel, a heat shield, and a bayonet lug. Most critically, it retained the original design's lack of a trigger disconnector, the mechanical feature that permitted slam firing. Winchester engineers had intentionally designed it so that holding down the trigger while working the pump action would fire the weapon as rapidly as the operator could cycle the unit. While civilian shooters rarely used this feature, military trainers instantly recognized its combat potential. The Imperial Japanese Army built its Pacific defensive strategy on core assumptions. According to a U.S. War Department technical manual, Japanese doctrine emphasized 2 primary tactical advantages: night fighting and close combat. Their training involved extensive hours on night operations, silent movement, and infiltration. Their assumption, validated in China and early Pacific victories, was that night combat negated American advantages in firepower and technology. Japanese manuals asserted that American forces were weak in close combat. They believed that once combat closed to bayonet range, the superior spirit and training of Japanese soldiers would prevail. This was fundamental to their tactical planning. The fall of Singapore and successes in the Philippines seemed to confirm that Americans could not match Japanese soldiers in close-quarters battle. The American invasion of Guadalcanal on August 7, 1942, was the first offensive operation against Japanese forces. Among the equipment issued to Marine units were Model 12 shotguns, distributed primarily to personnel tasked with jungle patrol, point defense, and security duties. The first major test came during the Battle of the Tinaro, actually the Ilu River, on August 21, 1942. Colonel Kiyonao Ichiki led 916 men in a night assault across a sandbar, exactly the kind of close combat night attack Japanese doctrine prescribed. The outcome was catastrophic for the Japanese, with approximately 800 attackers killed. While machine guns and artillery inflicted many casualties, the close-range fighting saw the shotguns employed in their intended role. The Model 12's effectiveness stemmed from specific technical characteristics. The military load of double-aught buckshot contained 9.33 caliber lead pellets. At combat ranges of 20 to 30 yards, the buckshot spread to approximately 30 inches, creating a pattern density that made precise aiming unnecessary. This characteristic was crucial in jungle warfare, where targets were often fleeting glimpses through dense vegetation. Post-war testing demonstrated that experienced operators could fire 5 to 6 rounds in under 3 seconds using the slam fire technique. This rate of fire exceeded many automatic weapons at close range, with the added advantage of the spreading pattern. Marines developed specific techniques. Training emphasized firing at ground level against crawling infiltrators, exploiting the ricochet effect of buckshot on hard ground. In the jungle, Marines learned to fire at sound and movement rather than waiting for clear targets, relying on the spread pattern to compensate for imprecise aiming. As the war progressed, the use of shotguns became more sophisticated. They were increasingly assigned to point men on jungle patrols for immediate, devastating firepower in response to ambush. In night defensive positions, Marines with shotguns could cover sectors with overlapping fields of fire, creating zones where infiltration became virtually impossible. They were also effective in jungle lane shooting, clearing paths through dense vegetation. The Central Pacific Islands campaign introduced a new challenge: Japanese cave fortifications. Beginning with Tarara and escalating through operations like Peleliu, Japanese forces relied on fortified caves and bunkers that required intimate close-range combat to clear. The Model 12 proved highly adaptable. The standard approach involved firing 1 or 2 shells into a cave entrance, allowing the buckshot to ricochet off interior walls. The ricocheting pellets created what Marines described as a lead storm inside confined spaces. The psychological effect often exceeded the physical. Surviving Japanese soldiers reported that the sound of ricocheting buckshot in caves was uniquely terrifying, a metallic shrieking that seemed to come from all directions simultaneously. The invasion of Saipan saw the continued evolution of shotgun tactics. Marine units developed shotgun teams, specialized groups for close-range assault, typically consisting of 2 shotgun-armed Marines, a BAR gunner, and riflemen with grenades. The battle for Saipan also saw increased use of specialized ammunition. While double-aught buckshot remained standard, Marines employed solid slug rounds for longer-range precision and smaller birdshot loads for stripping vegetation to expose hidden positions. The shotgun's ability to deliver multiple projectiles without precise aiming proved valuable in the confused melee of the largest Japanese banzai charge of the war on July 7, 1944. The battle for Iwo Jima in 1945 presented the ultimate test of cave warfare. General Tadamichi Kuribayashi created the most sophisticated defensive system of the war. 11 miles of tunnels connecting over 1,500 fortified positions. Despite defenses designed to counter American tactics, Model 12 shotguns remained effective. Marines adapted by developing skip shooting, deliberately banking buckshot off tunnel walls to reach around corners. However, the Model 12 was a specialized, not a general-issue weapon. According to Winchester records, only 61,014 Model 12 shotguns were manufactured during World War II. These were distributed across all service branches, not exclusively to Marines. The limited production meant Model 12s were concentrated in units expected to face close combat, such as Marine rifle companies and Army assault teams. The ammunition, however, was plentiful, with military contracts running into the millions of shells. The Model 12 excelled in several scenarios. After-action reports consistently noted its value in jungle ambush response, where the spread pattern compensated for difficult targets in dense vegetation. They were effective in night defense, where the sound of the pump action cycling became a psychological deterrent. And of course, cave and bunker clearing, where the ricochet effect was devastating. Even when not achieving direct hits, the psychological impact of buckshot ricocheting in enclosed spaces often forced Japanese soldiers to evacuate. The weapon's limitations were its effective range of 50 yards or less, its vulnerability to rifle fire at longer ranges, and the logistical burden of bulky, heavy ammunition. Japanese forces attempted countermeasures, including experimenting with thick wooden or bamboo body armor to stop buckshot. But this proved cumbersome and only partially effective. They also adapted tactics, increasing the depth of defensive positions and using obstacles to maintain engagement distances beyond shotgun range. Despite these efforts, Japan never developed a fully effective counter, as their industrial capacity prevented them from matching American firepower at any range. The American rejection of Germany's 1918 protest established shotguns as legitimate weapons of war under international law. Interestingly, Japan never filed a similar protest, which may reflect the Japanese military's own violations of international conventions in China, the deteriorating diplomatic situation, or simply that by the time the shotguns proved devastating, Japan was already losing the war decisively. The Marine Corps developed specific training programs for shotgun employment. Marines learned to carry bulky shells in elastic loops for rapid access, with a standard load of 50 to 60 shells. They practiced firing from the hip, point shooting without using sights, and maintaining balance while cycling the action rapidly. Target selection emphasized engaging the closest threats first and sweeping across multiple targets, relying on the spread pattern over precise aiming. The American use of shotguns reflected a pragmatic approach to warfare. Other nations, like Britain, the Soviet Union, and Germany, relied heavily on submachine guns for close combat. Japan produced virtually no combat shotguns, focusing on rifles, bayonets, and traditional blade weapons. The Model 12 was one element in a combined arms approach that integrated all available weapons. In the reduction of a fortified position, shotguns were employed in the final assault phase, providing overwhelming close-range firepower in the critical moments when American and Japanese soldiers met at distances measured in feet. The psychological impact was significant. For American forces, the shotgun provided confidence in close combat, reducing anxiety about infiltration and banzai charges. The distinctive sound of the pump-action cycling became a morale factor, reassuring friendly troops and potentially deterring enemy action. The Model 12's employment highlighted the vast industrial and technological gap between the United States and Japan. American forces could afford to issue specialized weapons like the 61,014 Model 12s, demonstrating overwhelming material superiority. Japan, by contrast, struggled to provide basic rifles and ammunition. Furthermore, the development of shotgun tactics demonstrated American military adaptability and user-driven innovation. Techniques like skip shooting for cave clearing developed independently in multiple units and spread through word of mouth and demonstration, allowing for rapid tactical adaptation. The Winchester Model 12's use in the Pacific War demonstrated American military adaptability and industrial capability. It was exceptionally effective in specific tactical situations: cave clearing, night defense, jumbo ambush response, and final assault phases. Its slam fire capability provided devastating close-range firepower that Japanese forces struggled to counter. The Japanese military's failure to anticipate or counter American shotgun employment reflected broader miscalculations about American military capabilities, underestimating American material superiority and tactical innovation in favor of spiritual factors. The Model 12, simple in design but devastating in application, embodied the pragmatic approach to warfare. From Guadalcanal to Okinawa, the Model 12 delivered a simple message. American forces would apply overwhelming firepower at every range, using every available technology adapted through continuous innovation. The weapon that Germany had protested as inhumane proved to be simply another tool in the American arsenal. The Japanese infantry who faced these weapons discovered that their opponents had mastered the science of systematically applying firepower to destroy any defense and achieve victory through material superiority combined with tactical innovation.